Hi there, this is Dr. Paul Firnhaber. It's Wednesday and time for another 10 minutes of truth. So many of you have been commenting to me on how much you enjoy these podcasts. I'm glad you do. I'm glad that you watch them. And today I have another article that I want to go over that I think is really important. I think all the articles that go over are important. The name of this article is called Rapid Single Particle Chemical Imaging of Nanoplastics by SRS Microscopy. And this article is from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, January 16th, 2024. So a very recent article. The study cites 84 references, and these authors developed a hyperspectral stimulated Raman scattering. It's an SRS imaging platform with an automated plastic identification algorithm that allows for micro nanoplastic analysis. So here's what they're saying. They're saying that the authors developed a way to look for particles of plastic that are way smaller than we've been able to identify so far. That's what it's saying. They developed a technique to do that. So these authors use this technique that they developed to study the micro nanoplastics from commercially available bottled water. So how many people do you see that drink bottled water or buy it, put it in their grocery carts? I see it all the time at Costco, all the time at other stores I go to. So this study is a scientific commentary and a scientific dialogue or monologue on that issue. So let's talk about microplastics. Microplastics are tiny particles that result from both commercial product development and the breakdown of larger plastics. Microplastics are a pollutant that are harmful to the environment and to animal and human health. So 1 milligram is equal to 1,000 micrograms. 1 microgram is equal to 1,000 nanograms. Therefore, there are 1 million nanograms in a milligram. So let's talk about some of the key points from this article. Micro nanoplastics originating from the prevalent use of plastics have raised a lot of concern. The existence of microplastics, which is 1 micrometer, 1/1,000,000th of a meter to 5 millimeters in length, and possibly even nanoplastics, which are less than 1 micrometer, have recently raised health concerns. Nanoplastics are believed to be more toxic since their smaller size renders them more amenable compared to microplastics to enter the human body. So these very, very small plastics in bottled water can enter cellular structure, the cells, and actually change human physiology. That's what they're talking about here. So microplastic concentrations were estimated to be around, or micro nanoplastic concentrations were estimated to be around 240,000, 250,000 per liter of bottled water, 90% which are nanoplastics. So this is about 250,000 small plastic particles per liter of bottled water. This is orders of magnitude. So we're talking about maybe 100 to 1,000 times more in abundance than previously reported in bottled water. That's very important because now they're finding different ways to measure things they're finding out there's a lot more plastic, small particles of plastic in bottled water than they ever thought there was before. And this is like anything else in technology. MRI, the 5 Tesla MRI machines now can see detail and problems in the body a lot clearer and on a lot smaller scale than the original MRIs. So this is just, the march of technology gives us a better scope of what we can look at. The tiny particles, nanoplastics, previously invisible under conventional imaging, actually dominate in number and account for about 90% of the entire population of plastic particles detected. Microplastic contaminations have been identified almost everywhere in environments and in human biological samples. Nanoplastics cross biological barriers and enter biological systems, raising public concern on its potential toxicity. Now, one of the things they refer to plastics as in the scientific literature is obesogens. In other words, these plastics, once they get in the cells, can cause disruptions in physiology and create obesity. And this may be one of the obesity issues that we're dealing with in our culture. We estimate that the exposure to micro nanoplastics from regular bottled water was at a level of 100,000 particles per liter, which is 2 to 3 orders of magnitude more than previously reported results. Given the capability of these nanoplastic particles to cross the biological barrier, nanoparticles, despite the seemingly trivial concentration to the mass measurement, might play a predominant role in terms of toxic evaluation. In other words, the larger particles have a much more difficult time getting into the cell than the smaller particles do. So even though the smaller particles don't play as large a role in terms of the mass of plastic in the bottled water, they might play a much larger role in disrupting biological mechanisms in the body. Toxicity induced by micro nanoparticles is not only dose dependent, but also related to particle physiochemical characteristics and their effect on cellular interactions and uptake. Now, there's one comment that I want to make from the individual who put this article together. And this is a really interesting and important comment. A number of studies indicate that discarded masks used during COVID restrictions are a significant contributor to the global burden of micro nanoplastics. So think about that. All these masks that are being discarded were made, what are they made of? They had micro nanoplastics. So when you wore those masks, what were you breathing into your body? Micro nanoplastics. Okay? It's another reason not to wear masks. I didn't wear them very often during COVID. I tried not to wear them hardly ever. I wore them a little bit, but not much. But that's a reason not to wear them. So I would recommend that number one is you don't drink bottled water at all, or as little as possible, because the more bottled water you drink, the more of these micro nanoplastics are going to get into your system and into your cellular structure. The body has a really difficult time getting rid of that. So it becomes this toxicity that constantly triggers this toxic reaction in your body. Number two is I would not wear those surgical masks if you can avoid it. They're full of nanoplastic particles. When you throw them away, they get into the environment. It's just a big mess. So avoid it if you can. Drink, out of glass or porcelain containers. Don't, store water in plastic bottles for very long periods of time. Don't buy them in the store, and just try and avoid it if possible. So I hope this helps you. I thought this article was very powerful, and considering that it came from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, that's a pretty credible resource. So that's all I have for this week. This is Dr. Paul Firnhaber at Lincoln Disc and Nutrition. We're in Lincoln, Nebraska. Our office number is 402-488-2220 if you want to get in touch with us. Have a healthy week, and I'll talk to you next week.